What is happening, people? Welcome back to Scarfey Spurs Talk. I want to start the podcast by wishing you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Whenever this podcast may be, getting to you, it's been recorded on Monday the 23rd. It might not get to you before Christmas. I don't know, but I do wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Nonetheless, I'm joined by a fantastic panel for tonight in what could be a therapy session from a Spurs point of view after losing 6-3 to Liverpool. I've got a Liverpool fan to rub salt in the wounds as well. But firstly, regular on the show, Justin joins me. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. As I said, I think this will certainly be a therapy session for another bonkers game. But to quote the big man himself, it is what it is, mate.
Yeah, you're not entertained. So thank you very much
for joining us this
evening. That's my favourite one, that one. Thank you, though, Justin, for joining us this evening. I mean, I've got you on with some bold results before, and this is another loss, I'm afraid, to drag you on. So I'm sorry, but thank you for giving us your time this evening. Billie, thank you very much as well for coming on. Obviously, another regular on the podcast. Always great to have you on. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Another loss. Collecting them at the moment, aren't we? So I think this is the 21st in our last 40 games or something like that. So, yeah, we've been here before. We'll be here again, but we keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we go again. But 8th loss of the season for the Spurs. We will dissect everything that happened with the game. I'm hoping that Jack will join us a little bit later from the Cheese Room podcast, fingers crossed. But he's having some internet issues at the moment, so we'll have to see with that one. But we are joined by a Liverpool fan in Roopa. How you doing, Roopa?
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. Apologies to you guys, but I'm, loving life at the moment, top of the table, doing all right in the Champions League so far. So yeah, this season's smooth sailing. Well, not smooth sailing, actually. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, it's going well. So I'm happy, especially to be top at Christmas.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's a big thing to be top at Christmas, or unless you're Arsenal, obviously, and you throw it away, but it is massive. You've got a healthy lead at the top from Chelsea and a game in hand, so I would say you're flying and doing well. But thank you for joining us this evening. And tell you what, Rupert, tell people a little bit about what you do and your work with Her Game 2.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Her Game 2 is a voluntary campaign tackling sexism in football and many other sports, but predominantly football. So we're a group of female fans. I say group, there's lots of us now, over 100 volunteers representing all our different football clubs. So I represent Liverpool, we've got people representing Spurs, and just campaigning against sexism, really, just making sure that football truly is a space for all. Everyone's welcome, especially females going to the men's game, fighting for equality, which is sad that we have to do it, but I'm glad that we're able to create safe spaces and work with others to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep up the incredible work. Obviously, yourself and Home Game 2 winning awards, deservedly so, at the last Football Content Awards. So congratulations on that. Keep up the incredible work. As you said, it's sad that it has to be done, but it does, and you do some incredible work. So just want to thank you on behalf of myself and the podcast, and appreciate you giving us your time this evening. So
yeah, no, thanks for the
Be
support.
a good one. Yeah, no worries at all. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it does help the channel and the podcast grow. If you're listening on the podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review, wherever that may be, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Spotify. And check out our sponsors, Security VPN and The Kitman. Before we get into the Liverpool game itself, there was a Levy and Eni Cup protest opposite the club shop, as we know, before the game. It's planned for 3 p.m. It's planned for a long while. I mean, the turnout looks quite good, and I'm going to play quite a few clips here. So obviously I'm aware if you listen to audio, you can't see it, but you should be able to hear. So let's play a few clips from the protest pre-match.
All I care about is goodness and 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care about leaving. He don't care about me. All I care about all I care about is goodness and 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care about leaving. He don't care about me. All I care
I mean, Justin, you can see there, the turnout was impressive, wasn't it?
I think you have to look at it in reflection. I know I've seen a lot on social media saying it wasn't a great turnout and things like that. But when you look at protests that have been in the past where they've had about 20 to 30 people, it is actually having an impact. And to be fair, I put a poll out on Twitter yesterday to try and gauge whether people would so soon be wanting to do another protest, and the response was really high. I mean, Billie sort of reposted it. That's probably where it got most of the people going into it, but it shows that this is something that is starting to build momentum, and I do feel that from the people who, I think it's OJ, I think his user tag is on Twitter. They did a fantastic job.
Had him on the show.
Yeah, before, and I think Flick's officials looking to do another one as well. I think this is something now that, whereas before it was like the odd one here or there that were trying to put this together, I think we are now starting to see collectively more and more people are willing to give up their time, their resources and things like that to start showing that this is just getting ridiculous. I mean, to turn round and maybe Roopa herself will be able to answer this, but when you're going into a game that's meant to actually mean something to you and actually can in our case kickstart a season, in her case cement kicking on from the draw that Chelsea got against Everton, to turn around and have the club lauding about Squid Games 2, I thought that was just embarrassing. I really did. That seemed to be the highlight. It was go to the club and look at the Squid Game, see 90 minutes of entertainment, go and see a bit of Squid Games 2, and then go home. There was no sort of real emphasis on actually trying to care about what the result meant. I've heard people tell us that was a great game, it was entertaining, it was a loss. It doesn't matter really with it. Nobody's going to sit there, and again, whether Roopa wants to otherwise, but I can't imagine she would have sat there and been skipping down the road if Liverpool if the result had been the other way around and Liverpool had lost 6-3. She's not going to be sitting there and thinking, well, we were entertained, it was a cracking game to watch. No, she'll view it as, and I can see by the shake of her head, that no, a loss is a loss. It doesn't matter whether you lose 1-0, 5-0, 5-4. You have lost, and ultimately that in itself highlighted how far the club is from football now. The fact that there was more of an interest in the entertainment, in the light show, in the whole Squid Game things. I mean, you had them around the pitch. You had those. I don't watch it, so whatever you call
the light
them.
show was Squid Game themed as well. But do you think that Tottenham Hotspur maybe it died inside the root of the club?
It died years ago, but this is just the icing on the cake, really. But I mean, to see them standing around, and I'm surprised that fans put up with it, because they were standing in front of some of the fans sitting there who paid their money. It just highlighted to me. And as I say, look, I get people are entitled to their opinions, whether they're Enoch in, Enoch out, Levy in, Levy out. To me, what I saw in that protest was a real positive. It wasn't a lot. Okay, we weren't talking about thousands upon thousands of people there. But what it did show is that we're not at the 20 to 30 that we were before. We're now getting to what looked like over nearly, probably I'd say about 300 just from what was there. That is a massive step. And the fact that more and more people are wanting to give up their time, give up their resources and get involved in it shows that eventually these voices will not be dampened down. And regardless of how entertaining the football is, we want to win. We want to be a success, which at this point we're not. So, it's a start. It's got to be built on, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. No, thank you, Justin. I know both you and Billie are, a supporter of this, and you feel that way about the owners and the chairman. Billie, would you say? I mean, Justin mentioned it there. It does feel like more people have turned than before. There were a lot of people, weren't there? They were on the fence, or maybe weren't, feel strongly either way, that have tipped over the edge. And the same, people that are also Levy and Enoch out always have been more confident, I suppose, to get involved with the protest. It does feel like more people have, flipped that way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't see how you could possibly support him at this point. To be honest with you, I think I've been on the side of leaving out for a number of years, and I've always tried to, there's a lot of hatred online between the two sort of positions, which isn't really my style. I've always tried to sort of engage with people and talk to people about things, so I find that much more productive. So I've been in many, many conversations over the years, many arguments, many debates, but now it's very few and far between. There's literally a handful of supporters in Levy's corner at the moment online. It's very, very different from what it used to be, and that sort of translated to much more numbers in the protest, which is great to see. And I don't see how you could possibly be, analyze what's going on at Tottenham at the moment and be in support of Daniel Levy and Enoch, because, we're 5 years into our stadium now. We're 17 years into a trophy drought, and we're certainly no better off than we were before the stadium. We're nowhere near the top four. We're nowhere near challenging for the league. We're doing okay in some cups, which is great, but our squad is a long way off, as we've seen. And I think to compound that, it's great to have a Liverpool fan on, because what you saw at the weekend was a complete contrast of that. It's a football team that are winning trophies regularly. They've won every single trophy in the last 2 years.
Focused as well.
And they know how to win, and they know how to back their manager and support their manager. And it's everything that we aspire to be honest. And it's everything that Enoch failed to deliver.
Can I just echo, and I know you're going to probably come through for a moment, but the one thing that very much smacks of all of that is Arne Slot, because before he went to Liverpool, as we all know, Tottenham went in for him. We're going to try and do a deal, and he said no. And I can imagine he's probably goes to bed every night thinking, thank God I turned that down, because look where he is now.
He's doing well, isn't he? That's for sure. Roopa will be able to tell us all about that a little bit later. But Roopa, can I ask you firstly your thoughts as like an outsider, I suppose, obviously as a Liverpool fan, about maybe the way that Spurs are being run and like Daniel Levy and the owners in general?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say I know a lot about the situation. This is just from a complete outsider's perspective, and I am just, I've seen bits here and there. I think you can't avoid it now on social media, but I think it's clear to see that the owners and the club are disjointed, and I've experienced that myself through Liverpool. And, we've had our fair share of issues as well with our ownership. So we've been there, we've been through the protests, we've had walkouts, everything through the supporters groups like Spirit of Shankly running them. So, we have been there, but I think it's clear to see that, things aren't right. And I think, yes, they just kind of made a mockery of the club. The situation you're in right now, you're saying that, you haven't won all these games. There's been a drought for so many years and they are the issue. And then you've got this Squid Game thing and the light shows. And I was speaking to a Spurs fan recently, just talking about the new stadium, because I went there for the first time for the Football Content Awards. And I was like, wow, this is huge, but it doesn't feel like football. And that's what every single Spurs fan that I've spoken to has said, that obviously you've lost your heritage, moving to that stadium. And obviously, I think some clubs will probably see it as a big move. And obviously it's a really nice, shiny new stadium. But that's one thing that I don't want for Liverpool either. I would much rather, not do what Everton are doing and go down to the docks where you've got this huge bowl, essentially, with no life. You lose fans. So, for me, it's clear to see that things aren't working. And I think the protests are only going to grow. It's been this long, no trophies. Things aren't working out with managers. I've seen a mixed view on Ange. I mean, I'd say keep him just from a rival perspective. But yeah, it's clearly not a good time to be a Spurs fan. And even for the players as well, surely they're feeling it from the fans. I do keep an eye on Brennan Johnson, being Welsh. I want him to do quite well, especially when it comes to international break. So, seeing him do all right there. But yeah, I don't know if that's the place I want him to be.
No, that's the thing. Quite toxic potentially. No, it's really interesting to get your thoughts as an outsider. So I really appreciate that. A lot of people will feel that way as Spurs fans. So I think you spoke for a lot of people there, so thank you. We'll move on to the game itself. So before the game, Tottenham's starting 11, for people who didn't see it, was Fraser Forster, Porro, Dragusin, Gray and Spence at the back. A doggy didn't quite make it. Saar, Basuma and Maddison in midfield, and then Kulusevski, Solanke and Son up top. Our substitutes were Austin, Reguilon, Udogie, obviously didn't make the bench, Dorrington, Bergevall, Elise, Werner, Johnson, and Lancashire. Billy, any surprises in there for you? I mean, for me, I expected Udogie to be in that lineup, but was there anything that you thought, oh, I didn't see that coming?
Nah, not really, mate. We've got no players. Like, we can't rotate. We can't really change.
Yeah.
I don't think Udogie was the only question mark, but obviously not quite fit enough. I'm glad Spence played. I thought he was, as we'll come on to a bit later, excellent again. But yeah, that's, we have no players. We have absolutely no players. I think we've got 14 fit players, and keep saying we can't rotate anyone. So that's going to be that team for the foreseeable, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, anything you would have done differently at the time? Obviously, it's easy to say now, as I always say.
Well, I think it's a tough one because ultimately, I think we're in a situation. I thought about this just before joining the show. We're almost at a point where Ange, I think, it reminds me a little bit of when, we got to the end days of Mourinho and Conte, where it was just like, do you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to play. I know what I want to do. The club hasn't given me what I want because, as we've seen, we're now down to the point where we're playing a right back at left back and a midfielder in defence. It's almost as if he's just turned around and almost just sticking two fingers to the board and saying, well, you've put me in the situation. You put me in the situation, to turn around. And so this is a style I want to play. I need the players to do it. Well, you've not given me those players. So, okay, I'll just do it with the players I've got. When it goes wrong, well, it's on you because actually I know my style works because it's worked elsewhere, but I need the players to achieve that. You haven't given it to me. So, yeah, a bit like as Billy said, this is what we've been left with. I wasn't surprised. I think I was just more surprised that Liverpool only scored 6.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
there you go. I appreciate the honesty. Roopa, from a Liverpool point of view, your lineup was Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk, and Robertson as the back line, Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai in midfield, and then Salah, Diaz, and Gakpo up top. Substitutes, you got Kwanzaa, Gallagher, Tsimikas, Endo, Nioni, Jones, Jota, Elliott, and Nunez. Any surprises in there for you? For me, the only surprise as a Spurs fan was as the game went on to see that Gakpo was on the left and Diaz was down the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he knows what he's doing. I think when he makes those changes, I have full faith in him. And when he came along, I was a little bit hesitant, especially when he made that first change I think it was his first game in charge, and he took Kwanzaa off early. And I was like, what is this manager doing? Is he just coming and making these, rash decisions without any thought? But I just feel like he just understands the process. And I feel like, making that change really benefited Liverpool. And I wasn't surprised with the squad at all. There are a few players in there where I'm a little bit hesitant, like Robbo's. I feel like he's just been consistently poor. I think obviously we played well, but I think we're right to criticise some performances there. And defensively, we were just shocking. But I think Spurs played into our hands massively. I think as Arnie wanted, to be honest. He wanted them to continue playing that attacking style just to kind of play into our hands, and he did exactly that. So yeah, we conceded a few, which was absolutely shocking, especially that first goal. The Maddison goal was, I don't know what was happening there. I've watched like 3 replays and I still don't understand what happened. But yeah, ultimately, we played into our hands and we just were on the attack more. And I think, the likes of Salah and Diaz and Szoboszlai as well has really stepped up his game. I think the score justifies the performance, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. No, thank you very much. Moving on to the game itself, in terms of talking points, 20th minute, Gray with an amazing interception, to keep it at the time at 0-0. I thought we'd done well despite our defensive troubles. But the first goal in the game coming in the 23rd minute, just 3 minutes later, frustrating for Archie Gray. It was a Liverpool goal to make it 1-0 Liverpool, and it was Diaz. What a cross by Alexander-Arnold. Billy, firstly, I mean, it is a good cross, but he's allowed too much space to cross it, isn't he? There's no one getting around to him. I mean, he could have taken another 5 touches and still put the cross in.
Yeah, it's not exactly like it's a surprise, is it, that Trent's going to do that? He's like one one of the best crosses the game's ever seen. So to allow him that much space is just negligence on every level. Like, that's what Liverpool are going to do. They have one of the best crosses that the Premier League's ever seen. If you give them space, they're going to score from it. It's just really bad. It's not good enough. You can't allow someone that good that much space, and they're going to damage you, which they did multiple times.
Yeah, 100%. Justin, do you think Diaz should be marked better? Obviously, he's got a free header there to put it past Forster. Or maybe the full backs, were they too narrow? Because I looked at it back and we were really narrow. I mean, I know it's the way we play, but it just invites Liverpool on, surely.
I think it's a difficult one because I think you have to give the credit in terms of Alexander-Arnold for the cross. It was a beautifully put cross. And the thing is always with those sort of ones, when you put it into a position that the goalkeeper doesn't know whether to come for it or stay on his line, he's kind of caught in between no man's land. Again, we can be critical, potentially more of the fullbacks, but again, it's asking a right back to cover in that left back situation. And that's always going to be a tricky one because I think as we saw a lot of the game, his mindset was more aimed at keeping Salah quiet, which is always a difficult one to be fair. So, it is tough parts because, you're right. You can be critical of the fullback. You can be critical in terms of the midfielder or the approach for Diaz. But again, you're asking, as I said, a right back to cover a left back position against Alexander-Arnold. And then you're asking a central midfielder to, in effect, protect against, Luis Diaz, who had got himself into a wonderful position. So it was a cracking goal. But again, you're asking people who don't play in those positions to defend that, which there was no chance. No chance. When you put a ball in like that, it's too inviting. And I think it didn't matter who it was, whether it be Diaz, it was going to be somebody in there. I think the only hope we had was it would have been Núñez. It would probably hit the crossbar, but that's the only thing we would have had in terms of somebody missing that. So you can be slightly critical, but again, not in their natural position, so it's always going to be tough.
Yeah, I think that context is important, and it was a beautiful goal, wasn't it, Roopa? I mean, a great way to open the deadlock, open the scoring, if you like. A beautiful cross and a lovely header from Diaz.
Yeah, brilliant. I think, Diaz has been on it this season anyway, and we just expected that from Trent. As soon as that cross went in, I was like, this is a goal. So, yeah, just inevitable, really. And I think you can say that probably about most of the goals yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, spot on with that one. I'll tell you what, I'll stay with you, Roopa, because, 36th minute is the next goal that come, and it did go to your side, Liverpool. It was McAllister this time. I mean, he does well, doesn't he, McAllister, to kind of ghost in behind. And I just think it's really good movement and flexibility to get there and then head it past Forster. Because a lot of people, attackers, midfielders, whatever, will, see the goalkeeper and panic, won't they? And, header it over the bar.
Yeah, I think Szoboszlai did well as well there to tee him up. I think, like you said, I mean, he's great at just staying composed in that moment because, I think we've seen it in the past as well, getting a bit flustered. But Alexis McAllister and Szoboszlai linking up, I think I've already said it. Szoboszlai was phenomenal yesterday, and then he got his goal inevitably. I think both of them just working together. I think we're just spoilt for choice, to be honest, on who played the best. I know everyone says Salah. Salah broke 2 records back to back. I think the club were posting graphics that he'd broken this record, and then they had to update the graphics and post them again. I think he's one of those players where he's just going to continue doing that. But I think we need to give more credit to the likes of Szoboszlai and McAllister, finding that space, staying composed. And it goes back to the manager, I think. In previous seasons, we've seen Klopp's side kind of panic a bit. And I don't know if it's just Klopp's character coming through the players as well, getting a bit too excited, getting a bit too, I don't know, it's just a little bit too fast-paced sometimes and rushing. I think Núñez shows that as well. But yeah, I think Slott's done well to kind of make these players stay composed in front of goal. And yeah, the end result just shows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely thriving. And those players you mentioned in particular, Dominic Szoboszlai really impressed me yesterday. Billy, from a Spurs point of view defensively, I mean, what's Fraser Forster doing? He's caught in no man's land, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think that man in that game has rocked his confidence, to be honest. I don't know if you saw there was some kind of incident that happened later on in the game where he got the captain's armband and then threw it on the floor and gave it to Kulusevski. I think his confidence is rocked at the moment. He probably felt like he wasn't deserving of captain. And I think you can sort of see that's translating to his play. He's much more nervous, and it'd be interesting to see. I think it was confirmed yesterday on physioroom.com that Vicario is out until March, which is the
March. Wow,
but that's been confirmed now.
Long time.
He's out till March, so that is a seriously long time. If you go on physioroom.com, that got confirmed yesterday. So I hope we're really going to dip into the market in January. I know Roopa probably won't be very happy with this, but I'd like to very much take Liverpool's number 2 goalkeeper in Kelleher. That would do me nicely.
Yeah,
we actually are linked with. We are actually linked with in some way. So I'll definitely take that.
What do you make of that, Roopa? Would you be happy to let Gallagher go? Is there a price as well you see him at?
Oh, to be honest, I know there's been a lot of talk about him leaving and him wanting to go, but I think he did quite well stepping in for Alisson. I think there's no comparing the two because Alisson Becker is just holy goalie. He is God essentially.
He's good.
I was lucky enough to meet him earlier this year, and I'm still in awe of that man, even though he started a drink on me. But yeah, I think Kelleher's been absolutely brilliant. And I know he wants to go. He said he wants to go, but maybe after recent performances, maybe he'll change his mind if we can, give him those chances. We've got the cup games. We're going for every trophy this season, so he may as well stick around at least until the end of this season and win, the quadruple. Yes, I said that word.
Oh, we got earlier that one.
People are genuinely going to come for me if we don't win that now.
Well, do you know what you played? Yeah, the way you're playing at the moment, it's not. I've had more outrageous things put that way. You're absolutely flying. And if you play like this, then I wouldn't put it past you. So there we go. You've heard it from Roopa first, the quadruple from Liverpool. Justin, I'll come to you because we did get the next goal to make it 2-1, reduce the deficit in the 41st minute through James Maddison. McAllister wanted a foul. It's not a foul, is it? Really?
No, I think to be fair, if it had gone either way, I think you would have been sort of, if that's where we're getting to, then we might as well just make it a non-contact sport, really, because that was just a coming together, two players going for the ball, falling over each other. You could have argued could it have been the other way if a Liverpool player had gotten onto it. It was only because James Maddison was the first one to react. And he finished it brilliantly. So, I can understand why people would have been frustrated, but at the end of the day, as it's one of those ones where you've always got to argue, would you be annoyed if it was given for you or given against you the other way? And it's that element with it. So I do sit there and I think that it was just one of those coming togethers, at the end of the day, and Spurs were the ones to be able to take the opportunity, really. And you would have thought at that point that might have put the ascendancy with Spurs, but as I say, we saw what came next.
Yeah, we did. Roopa, foul for you or not quite?
I mean, at the time I was shouting at the tally, and I saw Virgil approach the ref, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a foul. That's a foul." If I'm taking off my Liverpool tinted glasses, then yeah, probably not. Way too soft, whatever that was. I don't think there was anything in it, to be honest. But yeah, in the heat of it, I see why they reacted. But yeah, not a foul for me.
No, again, I really do appreciate your honesty. I mean, we're all in the moment. Oh, wait, come on, ref! What you do? But you see it back, you think, "Oh,
I think I do that at every opportunity." But yeah, that's what happens when you're watching football, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's passion. There's nothing wrong with that. I always think if you see it after and you're honest about it, that's just all that matters. So no, really do appreciate that. I can see why McAllister wanted the foul, but I think he goes over too easily, and I think the other goal rightly stood. Billy, Liverpool's 2-0 lead didn't last long. Justin mentioned there. You would have thought that been maybe the momentum, because I think we went on after that, didn't we? And the crowd were behind us, and we had a few minutes where we were good, but obviously we know what comes next. It's just frustrating that we couldn't capitalise on that, if you like.
Yeah, and it was just a frustrating game, to be honest. Like, I think Compared to what we can do, there was just really stupid mistakes and silly sort of lack of mentality throughout. And I don't think we were ever truly in it, to be honest. I know the crowd got up a little bit, and then it obviously was all kinds of ridiculous goals were going on all over the place. But I think there's only ever going to be one winner of that game. I never really felt, even when we pulled it back a couple of times, that we were in that contest. Totally outclassed in this one.
Yeah, 100%. Second best. I mean, Liverpool for me, best team in the country, most informed player in the world right now. Salah just were another level. But for me, this is the point where you need a leader. We've just scored. Where's that player to turn around and go, come on, let's go? And I was watching out in particular. I was looking at Son, Kulu, and Basuma. I was just generally looking around, and it was nothing noticeable. So you are a long way away in the stand. I'm up a shelf myself, right at the very top. So I can't 100% say that nothing was said. But there was none of that. I looked at Maddison, and I just think this is a chance we build on that. And 3-1, heads are down. I just feel like leadership problem is coming back to haunt us once again. Roopa, I'll start with you with this one. 46th minute, you made it 3-1. I think it's a pivotal goal in the game, and the way it kind of shapes up in the second half. We talk about Dominic Szoboszlai. He gets this goal. It's a good time for you to score, isn't it? Just before half time, and there was a little bit of momentum swinging our way before that, and that just 2-goal advantage going into half time. It's what you wanted and needed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Liverpool were truly dominating the game then. I think, at the start, I was a little bit hesitant. I was nervous going into the game, to be honest. And now looking back, I'm like, I have no idea why. Especially the way you guys are talking about it as well. Like, there's just, the players are the same. There's just no confidence. There's no sense of urgency other than that little bit of momentum you showed during the game. So, yeah, really, really positive first half, I'd say. It's just for us, and my worry when we go 2-1, 3-1 up is complacency, because that's the biggest issue with Liverpool. We just kind of fall asleep a bit. My main thing, like you'll see me tweet during a game, is just wake up, because they do it every single game. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Just sit back then and just let them attack, and that's exactly what we were doing after. But yeah, Szoboszlai is absolutely phenomenal. That sweep downfield was just amazing to see. And yeah, I know we had a bit of a scramble in the goal for the fourth one, but yeah, the first three were definitely some pretty decent goals.
I think
certainly well.
Yeah, and just one thing I will say, it was really one-sided. I know, so I've got to go in a minute. I know that this will be an interesting conversation probably afterwards, and spoke about the whole game in total. But I think this game was the trade-off for Thursday. Like we put everything into that Man United Cup game, and I think most fans are largely happy with, if you had to choose one of the two games to win, you'd want to win the cup game. Obviously, the irony of it all is that we've got Liverpool next in the cup, which is obviously not looking good after that result, but still. I think fans are desperate for a trophy, and we're down to the bare bones, and we can't compete in two competitions at the moment. We can barely even compete in one. So I think as soon as that Man United game happened and we got the win, this game is always going to be a write-off. We're playing the best side in the country, and it really did look like it. Obviously, the actual nature of it, you don't want to go and concede 6 goals ever at home. That's embarrassing on every level. But I think, coming into the game, I don't think anyone realistically expected to win. And of the 2 games this week, I'm glad we won the Man United one. And I think I speak to most Spurs fans when I say most of us want Liverpool to win the league anyway. So, it's a trade-off we were willing to take.
Anyone but Arsenal, right?
Exactly. Or Chelsea, yeah.
Anyone but Arsenal or Chelsea. Yeah, definitely. I know you have to jump now, Billy, so thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you across social media?
Yeah, I'm Billie T on Twitter, and just want to say Merry Christmas, guys, and hope everyone has a good one.
Thank you. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you, Billy. All the best. Billy now leaves us. Haven't got an update yet on Jack. He might join us a little bit later. We'll roll with it for now and see how it goes. Hopefully sorts out his internet troubles. I mean, Spurs' defence had troubles in the game, and Jack's internet's let him down a bit like Spurs. But I'll tell you what, Justin, before we move on, I will ask you about that third goal, because it's an awful time to concede, isn't it? But do you think Dragusin should win that first header? Because when he doesn't, problem.
Yeah. I mean, but then we know that is part of his game, that there are times where he will have those moments. I think we saw it in the Europa League where, he didn't control the ball properly, went past it, it's been nipped off him and he got himself sent off. So, there are those times where it doesn't really surprise you. It's things that he has got to learn from. I think the biggest frustration for me at all is the game management. You don't need to, at that point, still be going gun-ho. You can just take a breather. We're getting close to half-time. 2-1 is a better reflection of the game, or better position for Tottenham than 3-1. So, and I think, as Roopa sort of said, you then worry about, with Liverpool, will they sort of go into that slumber a bit, and could Tottenham capitalise? Well, the problem there is that Tottenham almost had to play their hand before they perhaps wanted to. So I think it was just naive, really, from all, that we didn't just turn around and go, look, 5 minutes just to see it to half time. We can regroup. We can we know that we got the last goal. Could we then make a different impact? I think the moment the third one went in, I think it was always going to be tough to ask against, I would probably say, one of the best, if not the best, counter-attacking team.
100%. Justin, did it feel like men versus boys in that first half? See, 3-1 down. That's the way I felt at half-time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could say that across even some of the senior players, because you look at it, and I think even if some of the senior players had got hold of some of the younger players and just been, let's calm this down, it's almost as if at times we just have robots out there that will just turn around, and the manager says, go for it. Okay, but should we maybe, no, let's just go for it. The manager's told us to go for it. It's like, but okay, but maybe just slow things down. It's 5 minutes, when you look at if it had been a case of that goal had been conceded at half an hour or 35 minutes, okay, it's a different story. But when there's like a minute or so to go, why do you need to continue playing the same way? And as I said, I just think this goes back to Ange's philosophy, and maybe the way that he's drilling into the players of, well, this is what I've got, this is the way we play, it's not my fault, which is just ridiculous. It really is, because had we held off 2-1, I think second half's a different game.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm with you on that. Roopa, I'll come to you next. Moving on to the second half, because the next goal, it didn't come until the 54th minute. I say that like it's some kind of achievement. The fact that it took us 9 minutes for us to concede. Mohamed Salah with the goal. It was a scrappy goal in the end, though, wasn't it? I think an important goal, but I mean, we talk about, there were some brilliant goals that you scored, but this one was one of the scrappier ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really dissect in that. I have no idea I had no idea at the time, like whether it was going to go in, whether it was just going to go wide, or just go out for a corner. But yeah, really, really scrappy. But just really glad, the king came through as he does. Mohamed Salah, I think, absolutely phenomenal. Just he reached double digits for goals and assists before Christmas. I think he's incredible. 228 goals in his 29 goals, in his time at Liverpool. And yeah, you just can't. I have no words to describe him anymore. He's just absolutely brilliant. And so pleased that I get to witness him scoring these goals, even if they're just scrappy ones or whether those all important penalties. Beating the Spurs in Madrid as well is one of my happy memories. But yeah, I mean, I just don't want to see him go, to be honest. I think every goal he scores is a sign to our owners to say, give him that contract, because that's what I want to see. I want that for Christmas, if possible.
You want it settled as well, don't you?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think it's playing in his favour. He's doing his job on the pitch and they can sort things out behind the scenes. But the more goals he scores is just showing just how valuable he is. And I saw a stat, I can't remember the exact numbers now, but the majority of our goals, whether it's assists or actual goals, have come through Salah. So once he goes, if he goes, we're just going to crumble. I know we've got some quality players, but Salah's the glue that holds us all together. In that sense, he's the reason we're top of the league now. He's the reason why we're going to continue progressing. So we can't afford to let him go. And I think the players are talking about it now as well, which just makes it more painful to go through. You know, the likes of Jota. I don't know if you saw the video of him talking to Sky Sports, and he said he wants to give Trent a pen to sign his contract. And the fact that the players are in on this now as well and are just openly talking about it means that there's so much that needs to be done behind the scenes to get these players to stay.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard to focus. I mean, I think you've done well, you know, as a team and the individuals to focus and, you know, keep going. And those players actually done really well. Maybe they're trying to prove a point to get that new contract, but Salah's you know, and Alexander-Arnold, I mean, it's massive, isn't it? You know, we're not talking about I don't know, a Harvey Elliott or a Nunez, where of course you want them here, but if they don't, you know, it is what it is. But we're talking about massive players here, so definitely you want to commit them. Justin, I mean, Spurs point of view. I mean, let's focus on Pedro Porro, for example. Where is he? Where is he in this? I mean, he's a defender. You know, he's a right back, and this has come down his side. He's not in sight.
Well, the one thing I'm trying to get my head around a little bit here is that of the two right backs that we have, Jed Spence is the one that's in the better sort of form. And actually, Pedro Porro, when we've had to, has played left back. You know, I think he played there in the Southampton game. So he has done it. So I find it a bit strange that we're not turning around and almost swapping them round, because I think one of the things that I do find very frustrating with Pedro Porro is the fact, I mean, not as in the same quality, but he reminds me in a sense of Gareth Bale, because Gareth Bale was a terrible fullback. But once he got moved up the pitch, he was brilliant. And you do think sometimes, why doesn't Ange do that? Why doesn't he turn around? And maybe at times when we've got the players, I think at the moment it's a bit tricky with the depth that we have, but almost just turn around and play Spence as the right back and then play Porro as the right wing. You know, I just feel that would actually give more balance and maybe even play Sergio Reguilon. I mean, I think, to be fair, his Instagram post has probably killed any more minutes for Spurs, regardless of how much game time or how desperate that we get to. I think the tea lady will come on now before he does. But I think we know that's in Porro's locker. And that's why I feel that he is brilliant at going forward in that position, but sometimes can just be shocking. And I think, to be fair, this is the one thing we have to be very clinical, you know, sort of put your hands up and sort of give acknowledgement to, is that Liverpool saw the weaknesses the Spurs had and just punished them. Absolutely clinical, devastating at times. You're on mute.
Mute there, yeah. Sorry about that. I was going to stay with you, Justin, for Liverpool's next goal, I suppose, to make it 5-1. The biggest scoreline of the match in the end. The 61st minute it came. Mohamed Salah again. We just couldn't stop Salah, could we? I mean, we knew before the game it'd be a problem. Is there anything that Ange could have done to, you know, set the team up to stop Liverpool thriving and their best player ultimately in Mohamed Salah?
I think, to be honest, when you're 5-1, well, what difference does it make? I never, you know, at the end of the day, you look at it and you think, well, what, shop at 5-1? You're already being humiliated. I think, you know, the two goals we got probably, you know, just maybe deflected in a way from it. But, you know, I 100% agree with Roopa in terms of, you know, what she was saying about the fact of that the guy just needs to sign a contract. And you almost have to look at beyond it. You almost have to look at, okay, he might be asking for a bit higher wages. He might be asking for another 2 years. But how much is it going to cost to replace him? You know, when you look at the players that are out there in the market, and as we've seen so many times what Salah does, particularly against Spurs, you know, he's devastating. He's absolutely devastating. And this season alone, when you sat there and I think we all thought, is he going to have a drop-off? Is it because we're getting to the end? Is it a convenient one where the club can turn around and say, well, he's not showing his best form. Maybe we can just turn around and say, look, you can see his legs are going. The guy's getting better and better and better. It's ridiculous to be in a position where where are we now? It's the 23rd. So in just under 2 weeks, he can talk to anyone. Right? How on earth can anybody put, I would say at the moment, the best player in the world in that position, where he could literally talk to anyone? I just find that baffling, but not, as I say, again, he's just sensational. And as we saw, when his name comes up and you see that Salah was the one who scored, you're almost like, oh, okay, that didn't surprise me. Here he is, and we move on and just, as we did, try and, limit the damage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Welcome him onto the podcast because Jack, I haven't heard back from him, so I think he's having lots of internet problems. So I've found someone else instead for the last part of the show. Joseph, for your second appearance on the channel. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you? You all right?
No, very good, thank you. Appreciate you joining us despite the result, and going to throw you in there to talk about the next goal in the game, which actually went to Spurs in the 72nd minute to pull it back to 5-2. It's Kulusevski who got it. I mean, it's a nice goal, isn't it? Good chip from Solanke and finish from Kulusevski.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic goal, really. It kind of came. I mean, it was 5-1 at the time, so I was kind of just like a bit deflated. I think when the goal went in, I barely even celebrated it because I was just like, yeah, all right, we scored. But I mean, it was a nice goal. It was good. It's what we see from Andrew's Tottenham, to be honest. We see it going well going forward, but then from the back, we don't see anything. So yeah, I mean, it was a nice goal. It was impressive link-up play from Solanke to Kulusevski, and Kulusevski's been our best performer this season, so I'm not surprised to see him stick that away. But yeah, I mean, I think the game's really, we're looking at the defensive woes, really. That's what kind of takes the game. And obviously Liverpool's excellence takes the game, not really what we did well in terms of our attacking play.
Yeah, absolutely. No, nicely summarised. Thank you very much. Justin, I mean, that was a nice goal, wasn't it? I mean, were you thinking just a consolation, or were you thinking, oh, come on, Spurs, let's have a go here?
No. To be fair, it was very much a goal where it was nice, but I think had that been the turning point and we'd somehow got a point back, I think that would have, you wouldn't have sat there and lauded Spurs for that. You would have turned around and been critical of Liverpool collapsing from that point. I mean, the frustrating thing is we have that in our locker. There's no issues up top. We've got some of the best players in those positions, really, and they suit well to that style. It's more at the back where we have the problem. So I wasn't surprised. Kulusevski, player of the season, as far as I'm concerned. He's really, really, turning it on. Should be captain, as far as I'm concerned, because we're gonna get to a point with him where we have done with so many players where they're going to look at the situation they're in and they're going to think, I can earn more money elsewhere and I can win trophies elsewhere. So he will, if we don't start, either building the club, building the team around him, and having players of that ilk from top to bottom in that squad, he will turn around and leave. And, we're all talking about a player. I mean, he's not in the same level of Salah, but, would Liverpool not be interested in going to get someone like a Kulusevski that they can then mould? I mean, I think he's still only, 23, 24. So he's young enough that they could probably go get him and get a good few years out of him. So he's going to have suitors at some point, whether it be in the summer. So was I surprised he scored? No, he's an amazing player. And if we don't fix things, one that we'll very much struggle to hold on to at some point.
We can't lose Kulusevski. He's our most important player.
I totally agree with you. But we've seen this club do it before when we've turned around and we shouldn't have lost players, and we have. We can go through the players that we've lost and that we've replaced with poor replacements. So, I 100% agree with you on it. It just would not surprise me if we turn around and we see a tweet come out from the club wishing Kulusevski all the best in his future endeavours, as we've agreed a deal with £100 million somewhere else.
It would be awful if that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been our best player this season. He's really coming into his own, isn't he? I mean, he just looks so natural. I mean, him, Solanke, and probably Archie Gray were the only players you could probably say could keep their head held high really yesterday.
I think possibly Spence, because obviously he was in a difficult position, playing out of position and going up against Mo Salah. I would say I agree. Probably the ones you mentioned, and probably I'd add him at a push.
I don't know if this was mentioned before. Obviously, I've come on a bit later, but what did people make of when Spence made that run up towards Trent for that third Liverpool goal? Because I honestly couldn't believe it. I was so angry, not specifically at Spence, but just at the system when it was, we're 2-1. We're somehow still in the game, even though we're being absolutely dominated by Liverpool, really. We're still in the game after that goal from Maddison. And then Spence makes that 40-yard run to try and close down Trent. Trent plays the ball over the top, and then it makes its way through to Szoboszlai, and then he scores to make it 3-1. What did everyone make of that? Because at that point, I was really, really just, I don't know if these tactics work.
I think to be fair, as we were saying earlier, it's almost as if, as I sort of said, it smacked to me a little bit of previous managers who have gotten to a point where they've looked at what they've got, looked at the position they've been put in, and just thought, you know what, I'm going to play the way I want to play. You don't give me the players, well, that's on you. And I feel that, it summed it up, because, you're absolutely right. Should he be doing that? But again, the problem being is you're asking a right back to do a left back's job. Well, when you look at the fact that the only left back we've got is one that, as we saw, had to put an Instagram post out to show his mum that he actually did play some football. It's reached a point where it was poor, but it's not one that's surprising, because I think this is something we're going to see time and time again until either he's fully backed with the players he wants, because don't forget, Levy said we've got our Tottenham back. So if he sacks him now, he's then going to turn around and go, we got our Tottenham back, but I sacked him. So I feel this is just going to be copy and paste for however many games. The only saving grace is we're 17 points away from the 40-point mark. So I'm just counting it down.
There we go. Joseph, I'll come to you next. 83rd minute. We got another goal to pull it back to 5-3. I mean, we didn't feel sorry for ourselves, did we? We kept going.
We did keep going. I don't know. It's hard. Like, I felt so disconnected from the game, to be honest. Once it hit 5-1, I was kind of like, I was in a mode where I was just kind of sitting there, and I wasn't really, I don't know, I just didn't even really feel like I was caring about it after that point. Obviously, we get that goal, and to be fair, it's a lovely goal. Again, good cross by Bergvall. I thought he came on and did okay. Nice header back by Brennan Johnson, and then Solanke over his head. Good finish, pushed off kind of Van Dijk. It was really nice, and Solanke again really impressed me. I think he's starting to show why we spent the money on him. Starting to get the goals.
He's done well with his goal as well.
Yeah, that's really what I mean. I think the goals are coming now, and his performance is warranted. The praise anyway. He was playing really well in Ange's system. I've been impressed with him, but obviously now he's finally getting the rewards that I think he deserves. So it was a good goal. But again, I think the 3 goals just flattered us, to be honest. As much as it was nice football for the goals, they flattered us. I mean, in general, Liverpool it was men against boys in that game. And, coming away 6-3, it makes it look like it wasn't as bad as it was. It could have been 10-2, could have been 10-1. Honestly, Liverpool were just by far the better team.
Definitely. Roopa, are you frustrated because you conceded 3 goals for the first time this year? You talked about earlier defensively you weren't good.
Yeah, I think I know Slot talked about it after the game as well. I think it's good to have that mentality, and I'm really pleased that the players and the manager are all talking about that, because it's not great conceding 3, and especially to Spurs. Not gonna lie, I like you just said, Joseph, that it makes the game look a lot more equal to an extent. But I think we have that thing of just getting complacent after scoring a few goals. This is what we talked about earlier, where that 3rd goal in the first half was really important. I think if we didn't get that, we would struggle going into the second half. I mean, I don't like how things have been defensively. I know losing Konate was a big thing as well for us. We've conceded a lot more goals since we lost him. So, yeah, I think we do need to sort out our defence. And I think that's a running theme. We've had that for a couple of seasons now at Liverpool. Well, I say couple, quite a few. And I know Klopp's been struggling with that in the past. And now it's been handed over to Slot. So, yeah, I think we will struggle, and especially with a few players they're hoping to leave as well.
100%. Stay with you though, Roopa, because the 9th goal of the game and the last goal of the game went to you to make it 6-3 Liverpool, which was the final score on the night. Luis Diaz, I mean, another lovely goal, right? It's cherry on top, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I was just happy with the win at that point. I think I knew where the game was heading, and yeah, I was just really pleased that Diaz got his second goal. I just think he's such a solid player for us as well. And yeah, I mean, Salah assisting once again as well. So yeah, just the cherry on top, like you said, and a good win to go into the next round of fixtures.
Yeah, 100%. It really was. So congratulations on the win. Got some stats here, after full time. 24 shots and 12 on target for Liverpool in that game. It's Tottenham's 8th loss of the season as we sit and remain in 11th place. Spurs have lost 20th Premier League game out of the last 42. That's 20 out of the last 42 lost. Goals conceded at White Hart Lane in 2016 and 17 season, only 12. Whereas goals conceded at home in the last 14 days, we've conceded 13. That's a little bit of an alarming stat. Obviously, context is important. The players we've got out. 67 games under Ange. We've only lost 23. There's a little bit more positive stuff. I mean, it does sound like a lot, but 67 games, we've only lost 23. That is a small number in, the scheme of things. But next, I want to bring up a graphic to do with Spurs defensively. So I'm going to bring it up here. For people who can't see it, run it through. So it's Spurs defence in December. We've conceded 12, which is Premier League ranked 20th. We've faced 85 shots, Premier League ranked 20th. Shots on target faced 37, Premier League ranked 20th. XG against 13.5, 20th in the Premier League. And big chances faced 25. You guessed it, worst placed as well, 20th ranked in the Premier League. Joseph, the stats like that concern you slightly, but obviously only one centre-back available and only one out of the entire back five, including the goalkeeper, are available, with Vic, Van der Ven, Romero, Davis and Udogie all being out. Is context important at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the injuries are clear. Like, Van der Ven, Romero being out. I mean, Ange has repeatedly said it in every press conference how, any team who loses their two starting centre-backs and their goalkeeper are obviously going to struggle, as well as obviously Udogie. But that's, again, down to game management. He's having to play so much football. He needs a rest. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair enough to look at it that way and just say, we're going to obviously concede more chances. This is the Premier League. When you go into games with, Archie Gray starting at centre-back, it's obviously going to be difficult. But I think also you've got to say this is Ange's tactic. This is Ange's high line. He's going to invite these chances. And the fact that we have got those injuries, you kind of think, maybe you should adjust a bit. But he's obviously kind of kept his, stayed with his guns and gone, this is how I want to play. And it resulted in Liverpool scoring 6 yesterday. I mean, as much as I'm not saying that we needed to go ultra defensive and try and, to just defend the whole game, because I don't think that would have stopped Liverpool either. But the fact that we were just still exactly the same as we always were, we're just inviting chances. I mean, every single time Liverpool went forward, it looked like they were going to score. And unfortunately, at the moment, we're kind of seeing that in most games we're playing. I mean, 4 goals against Chelsea, 3 goals against United, 6 goals against Liverpool. And it could have been more in those games as well. Let's be honest. I mean, there was chances for United. Yeah. They could have scored more. Chelsea definitely could have scored more. Liverpool could have, if they were even more clinical than they could have scored more. So, unfortunately, this is what Ange is creating right now. And yeah, we do need Van der Ven. We do need Romero back. We also need more squad depth. I mean, I just finished writing a report about transfers Tottenham needs to look at in January. And we need a centre-back. We need probably another goalkeeper. We need a left-back, definitely. And that's just in this window. We're really threadbare right now. We've been plagued with injuries this season. And it's really, It's obvious from what you can see from December, us being 20th in all of those stats is just, it's exactly, what
it sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But do you think it's too big of a challenge, this game, Liverpool, obviously best team in the country, I think, at the moment. Is it just too big of a challenge for an injury hit team? Always going to be second best?
I think we were going to be second best, but then again, a lot of teams are second best when you play against Liverpool. And you're not always going to concede 6 goals. Liverpool are by far one of the best teams in the league. You probably put them in that top, 3 or 4 in terms of just quality they've got. Maybe you would even put them as the number 1 quality in terms of what they've got on the pitch. Even with our starting 11, we're going to be second best to Liverpool. So you've got to be able to, sometimes you've got to be able to grind out a result. There's time. I mean, Southampton nearly grinded out a result against Liverpool. I know it was 3-2 Liverpool in the end. But Southampton are nowhere near as good as Liverpool, and they almost got the result. Now, I'm not saying I expected Tottenham to get anything from the game yesterday. I didn't. But we could have made it closer than it was. And again, for me, that's down to Ange's system and how he wants to play. From minute 1, I didn't think we were winning that game. As soon as the game started, I had a little bit of hope before coming into it. And then as soon as that game kicked off and I just saw how Liverpool were dominating, how we had set up, you just knew there was only one result. You knew there was only one result coming.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Thank you, Joseph, again for your honesty. Justin, Liverpool played a second string team in the week in their Carabao Cup win against Southampton, and they played a day earlier. Is that a factor at all in this?
No. At the end of the day, that just shows the difference
between
the two clubs. It just shows the difference between the two clubs. You look at the fact that they were in a position that they were able to do that. I think to be fair, a lot of Liverpool fans, and maybe Roopa can clarify or disagree with regards to it. But if you turn around, obviously she said about the quadruple before, but if you had to put one that could have fallen by the wayside, I think the League Cup would have been probably the one they would have picked. Obviously, it probably helped the fact that they had Southampton away, who we just put 5 past. So, it wasn't like that they were probably sitting there worrying too much with it. But again, you look at the team they still put out in that game. I mean, as I say, when you can turn around and you can field a second string team that consists of an £85 million striker, it's not a bad position to be in. And it just shows the gulf between the two clubs that at one point were, you thought it was going to be Tottenham that were going one way and Liverpool going to be going the other way, and that just has not materialised at all. So wasn't surprised, and it just shows which clubs run a lot better.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much. Roopa, who's your man of the match in this game for Liverpool? You spoke about Salah doing well. I've got a feeling you might go for someone else.
Yeah, I think it has to be Szoboszlai. I know Salah's the obvious, but I said it a few times already. He was phenomenal. Obviously, I'm a big fan of him anyway in general for more reasons than one. But yeah, I think that game just kind of showed his quality. Obviously, his assist and then getting that goal. And yeah, fingers crossed he can keep that up. And I'm just hoping for no more injuries, touch wood, because I think that could be our breaking point. But yeah, if we can continue like this, obviously Jota's back as well, and he's another quality player. So if we can just carry on the way we are,
massive.
Yeah, I think.
Off the Alisson recently, yeah.
Season. So yeah, Szoboszlai definitely, and then I'll put Salah second as well.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. And another question for you, actually. Would you say it's, I'm sorry to ask this question, do you think it's Liverpool's title to lose? Obviously, you're 4 points clear, game in hand in Chelsea. Is it too early to say that, title in your hands? I
can't exactly say it's too early when I've already mentioned the Q word, but I mean, I don't know. Things are just going really well. I wasn't expecting this, honestly. Like, new manager, I was expecting a dip. I was speaking to some fans in the summer, especially when Klopp announced he was leaving, like nearly a year ago now. I remember thinking, right, this is it. We're going to go downhill. It's going to be easier to get tickets though, so that was the silver lining. But yeah, I mean, things have just been the absolute opposite. It feels like a dreamland. Obviously, still before Christmas, still got a long way to go. But I mean, I guess you could say it's ours to lose. ultimately, you know, especially the way we're playing, especially with that game in hand. If we can beat Everton, which is a tricky game, let's be honest. So I was actually dreading that, especially if we were playing in windy conditions. I had a strong feeling it was going to go in Everton's favour, so I was glad that got.
They're doing well at the moment defensively as well.
Yeah, so I was worried about that, so I was glad it was postponed. But yeah, fingers crossed we can win that game in hand and just keep a healthy lead. But we have obviously dropped a healthy lead previously, so yeah, I don't want to get too cocky. But I mean, I guess most people would say it's ours to lose.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, what time can you go until? Just want to check.
I could probably do about another 10 minutes.
Okay, lovely. Roopa, I'm going to let you go now, that's all right. And we're going to finish dissecting this game and move on to our next game, Forest, because obviously I know you have to jump. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time this evening. Where can people find you across social media and, of course, Her Game too?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. You can find me at LFC_RV on X. And yeah, Her Game 2 is just at Her Game 2 on all socials. And yeah, please follow us, please support us and help us, you know, keep making the game inclusive for all, really. And yeah, thank you all for letting me talk about how great Liverpool are.
No, thank you very much for coming on. I was very, very keen to get you on. I thought, oh no, the result hasn't gone our way, but yeah, you're great. So thank you very much for coming on. Have a great evening.
Thanks
and a great Christmas as well.
Yes, have a great Christmas. Bye.
And you.
See you later.
Bye. Thank you. Right, we will make it super quick and try and wrap up in the next 10 or so minutes. So Ange Postecoglou said on a potential tactical plan B, he said, I think I've explained clearly what I thought happened today. I don't know what plan Bs or Cs are. I really don't know how to answer that. Lost for words. That's what he said to the Sky reporter. Joseph, does he need a plan B?
I think he's taking it the wrong way. I think people are just telling him, and I agree, sorry, with what some of the reporters are saying, what some of the pundits are saying. I think there's certain game states within football. I don't think you can play exactly the same way from minute 1 to minute 90. I don't think that's how football is played. I think you have to change it depending on who you're playing, how the game's going, what situation you're in. And I just think we haven't seen that enough from Ange. I think what they're saying is, again, especially for that third Liverpool goal, you know, we're going into half time. We've got a couple minutes left of the half and it's 2-1. Somehow we've kept ourselves in the game and we have a chance to take momentum into that second half when we get that goal. And instead, what does he do? He kind of throws everything forward, starts pressing, and Liverpool go get that third goal that completely kind of takes away all that momentum. I think that's what people are saying. It's not about a complete plan B where you've got to start being ultra defensive and just change all your philosophies. It's about just adjusting to how the game's going. And that's what I'm disappointed that I'm not seeing from Ange. I mean, you've got all these injuries as well. You think maybe you would change things slightly. You know, I'm not saying, again, you change your philosophy. If you want to play attacking football, then play attacking football. But we saw attacking football under Pochettino and we weren't conceding this many goals.
All I will say, though, is, Joseph, and I completely agree with majority, if not all, of what you're saying. But a lot of people, because I put a post out defending Ange and it kind of blew up, etc. And some in the good way, some in the negative way, as always with X. But a lot of people said to me, he's not innocent, why not sit back? But with only one centre back available, if you sit back, I'm not saying you're saying this, by the way, or you counter attack and just park the bus, was a lot of think words that people throw at me. A statement I heard a lot. Surely that puts more pressure on your defence when you've got a vulnerable and depleted back line, doesn't it? It would be better to focus on our attacking strength like we did yesterday and score those 3 goals.
I understand what you're saying, but I think on the other hand, you've got, although Archie Gray has been good for us, he has been great. I've been very impressed with him. Spence has come in and been impressive. You've got players that are playing out of position. You've got players that are playing 3 times a week. They're all pretty shattered. They're playing a lot of football and you're leaving them, on their own to basically try and defend one-on-one against some of the best attackers in the league. Now, I'm not saying you go ultra defensive, but why are the midfielders not maybe keep staying a bit deeper and trying to help the defence rather than leaving them 1-on-1 against Salah, against Szoboszlai, against Luis Diaz? Why are you pushing Porro and Spence so high up, and it's just leaving Archie Gray completely on his own? I mean, to me, it's just you're like showing the weaknesses we've got, and you're letting Liverpool exploit them even more. So I do understand what you're saying. I think you're right in a way that we should focus on the attacking football. It's what we're best at. But you can't concede 6 goals in any game.
No,
I'm sorry, like
it's too many.
We're Tottenham Hotspur. Like, we shouldn't be conceding 6 goals to any team. I don't care, even Real Madrid, the best teams in the world. We shouldn't be conceding 6 goals. You can lose games, and I appreciate you can lose games, but you don't need to concede 6 goals in 90 minutes. And that's down to the system we implemented, I think, personally, yesterday. I don't think that's down to personnel. I think if we set up a bit better, I think we could have. Maybe we still concede 3 or 4. It's Liverpool. Liverpool have got an unbelievable attack. But
I think full backs we could have made them stretch out a little bit, not be quite as narrow. Yeah, so I do agree with you. There's little things that he could have done more. I'll tell you what. Let's hear from the gaffer, Ange Postecoglou. Here's what he had to say post-match to Spurs TV when he was interviewed.
Your verdict on that one?
Yeah, obviously painful one for us. Credit to Liverpool, they're a good side, and they're just too good for us today. We were lacking a little bit of energy for sure. It's just the situation we're in at the moment, and it was just a bridge too far for us.
And you've got to give the players great credit for keeping going, if nothing else. I mean, you can take pride out of that, can't you? 5-1 down, could have just thrown it in, but we kept going. 5-3. We're all believing in the stadium that something could happen.
Yeah, no, I've never questioned the players' sort of commitment and their effort, and they really care and they really believe in what we're doing, and that was evident again today. But obviously, you still need to sort of be at a certain level, both physically and in terms of our quality, to be able to do what we need to do against the top teams. And obviously today they were just too good for us.
How difficult is it, Ange, to be able to get the players into the match fitness required for another Premier League game in 4 days' time?
Well, you just have to look at all the other teams. There wouldn't be a team that was unchanged from midweek to the weekend, and we had no choice. So I think that tells you everything.
I was going to say, Ange, I mean, look, I think it's 9 out today. So looking at Boxing Day, we've got Rodrigo back. Yeah. Any more coming back?
Well, hopefully Destiny will. He wasn't quite right today. Even though we had him on the bench, so hopefully he'll be closer to it. And they're the main 2 at the moment. We're kind of hoping Ben and Mikey Moore and hopefully Richie aren't too far away after that. But for Thursday, probably just Destiny and Rodrigo.
So that's what Ange had to say post-match. Justin, can I get your thoughts on his assessment? Did he sound like a broken man? Because a lot of people I saw on social media saying that he did sound a broken man. Kept looking up at the scoreboard. He looked a little bit agitated.
Well, we saw it. I think was it in the Sky interview or the interview afterwards, where he turned around and snapped at the journalist who kept asking about this pragmatic, or is there a plan B or something like that. It comes back to what I was saying before. This is a guy who plays a certain way. We know that. Okay, we knew at the moment he walked through the door what he was going to do. And by doing that, the club had put themselves into a position which it's almost like going from one extreme to the next, because the likes of Mourinho and the likes of Conte are very much defensively minded, it's built from the back and go forward from there, whereas Ange is built from the front and goes back. And where all 3 of them play in their set ways, there isn't an alternative with regards to it, really. So you have to go out and very much back them. And you can't put them into a position where it turns round and you're at a point where, you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, well, okay, is he going to be more pragmatic with this? The answer was going to be no. We've seen it last. That's a bit I think he's getting agitated with. He's looking at, well, you asked me this last year. and I answered it. And you're now asking me again, what are you expecting, in terms of from that? So
It's stupid questions sometimes.
I think it's just a repetitive question, but the problem that you have when you're a Spurs manager is that a lot of the time you're not only defending yourself, but you're defending the club, and I think that is a difficulty because all he wants to do is just manage the football club. He's not interested in the politics or anything else. He's not interested in the fans getting agitated. He's not interested on Squid Games or any of the other bits that we've spoken about. He wants to go out there and manage the team to go out and go from that point, to be fair. So there's parts of him probably look broken, but I think we'll know more about that once January's been and gone, because if he's left with what he's got now or similar to that come February, then I don't know. I don't know whether he'll want to put up with it or whether the club will want to put up with it. I've got no idea, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you very much. Joseph, what are your thoughts on his assessment there? I mean, he's very clear, wasn't he? Injuries are the reason we're struggling and Liverpool are just too good for us.
Yeah, I mean, I can sympathise with that to a certain extent. Obviously, the injuries are a massive factor in why we're doing so poor. I would have liked to see, and I'm interested to see that Carabao Cup game. I mean, the thing that's going to be interesting is that whether Liverpool play a full strength team, but I'd like to know if our full strength team wins that yesterday, because I'm still not convinced we would have. Personally, I'm still not convinced that if Van de Ven and Romero are playing and Udogie are playing, that we definitely win that game or we put up a bigger fight. I still think Liverpool would have really capitalised on that high line that we were playing. I think Arne Slot was begging for it, to be honest. He was begging for us to play that high line. He knew it was going to work in his favour. So, yeah, I mean, but I can sympathise with the injuries. I mean, it's shocking the amount of injuries we've got. I don't know who we blame on that. Is it the system that he's playing with the players getting injured? The constant hamstring injuries and different injuries from there. Is it the medical team that can't seem to keep our players fit, or are we just unlucky? It's hard to tell really. But yeah, I mean, Justin's right. We need reinforcements, and he's definitely right in the fact that Levy and Enoch, they brought him in. They said, "You're the guy. Okay, we'll go and back your guy. Then, if you think he's the man, you've got to go and then back it up and give him what he needs to try and succeed. If after you've seen it and you've backed him and he hasn't succeeded, then you can have a conversation about him maybe leaving." I'd like to have this debate. Obviously, maybe not on this podcast, but personally, I'm Ange out. I'd love to have the debate with other people about if they think Ange is the right guy.
I didn't realise that actually.
Yeah,
you are.
As much as I understand that Levy and Enoch are a massive issue, and they are the biggest problem at Tottenham. I think two things can still be right, and I don't think Ange is the man to take us forward for success. I don't think his tactics are going to win us anything personally. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I don't know. I just personally don't see it. So I'd love to end up having that, that proper debate, and maybe it'll be for another podcast possibly. But no, obviously I'm interested to have that conversation because I personally, just since Ange has been in, obviously I do sometimes love the attacking football and seeing the the highs where we beat Man City, where we beat Manchester United. They're great. But do I see it working successfully in the long term? No, I don't see it at all. And I'd love to see where people's thoughts differ on that.
That's really interesting. Justin, I know you have to go. Can I ask you last minute thoughts? Were you down on Ange? Are you still fully behind him? If I'm being honest with you, I am. But I can see where Joseph's coming from. I don't necessarily know whether he's, this bold style and system will work in the Premier League. It's just a case of I don't think we should appoint a sixth manager in 6 years. And I think there are problems lie deeper, put it that way.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you and I have had those conversations plenty of times with regards to that. I do feel that I get where Joseph's coming from, because I think perhaps you're looking at it on the basis of the setup that we currently have and the way that we buy players, and we're buying so much potential for the future that actually, if you're going to play this style, you're going to get these injuries, as we've seen with Van de Ven, as we've seen with Romero. So you've got to have players that can almost just ready slot in, especially as you're going to be playing Thursday, Sunday. So I think Angie's style maybe suits a season like last where there wasn't so many games for us. But again, you've got the other hand of the club hired him. The club knew what he was like. They knew what he was going to bring. They knew that he was going to play this gun-ho style. Even Levy came out and said, we've got our Tottenham back. Well, okay, this is your Tottenham. This is what you said. We've got our Tottenham back. Well, this is it. And if anyone can see as far back as when Ozzy Ardiles was in charge, now this is 94, so it's a little while back, I'm afraid. But if you ever watched his football, if you can find it on YouTube or anything like that, watch it. It's this. This is what you have. We have brilliant players like Sheringham and Klinsmann and people like that. Could not defend for toffee, but we were brilliant going forward. And this is what we've got now. And the only way that this type of football works is if you fully back it. And thanks, Callum, for that. I feel it when I'm doing shows with you, but anyway.
Yeah, people can't see listening on audio. Regularly on the show, Callum has just got involved in the conference. And Jesus, JJ, you're old.
Oh, well, to be fair, I've been called a lot worse. I have been called a lot worse. That's usually by the family. But to be fair, I get where Jose's coming from, because if it's going to be under the ownership that we currently have, no, he don't work. Get somebody else. But if they do, I just don't see who else. Because briefly, just going on to, or just finishing up with what we've got next, which is Nuno, who is proving what he can do, at Nottingham Forest. And they're fourth at the moment. So enough said on that one. I don't think we'll get anything from that. And I think it's going to get a lot worse. But thanks for having us on. And I look forward to the next time when hopefully it'll be a lot better. Nice to meet you though, Joseph. All right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, nice to
meet
you.
Have a fantastic
See you
Christmas. All the
Up the
best,
Spurs.
Justin. Yeah. Up the Spurs. Well, thank you very much to Justin. Before we move on to Forest, Joseph, I'm going to read out the post that I put out on social media that blew up, because it's to do with Ange, and I want to get your thoughts on it. As you stated there, I didn't realise that you're Ange out, which is really interesting, and I want you're absolutely entitled to think that. I want to get your thoughts deeper than that. I don't get the Ange criticism tonight. We've got 10 senior players out and coming up against the best team in the country. Obviously, I did later recognise it was 9, but Adoki wasn't feeling right. And I went on to say Ange needs the players capable of playing his system and the squad depth before we can judge. Sack Ange and you go back to square one and have to appoint a 6th manager in 6 years. The problems lie deeper. That's what I put. And I didn't expect it to blow up like it did. 100k views and 1,000 likes at the time of recording. But the reason I posted this actually was I was listening on the way home to, I think it was Radio 5 Live with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. And Robbie Savage was absolutely tearing into Ange. And I was like, hang on a minute. These players, they surely should be held accountable. He was just completely ignoring the players, but going for the manager. Obviously, he's manager of Macclesfield Town. So I found that interesting. Where does Ange kind of lie with you in terms of accountable for that loss? I mean, you talked about the players, could do more. You talked about Ange, you think also at fault. Is he the main reason we've lost that game?
No, I don't think he's the main. I think he's just a part of it. I don't think you can ever pin one thing on Tottenham. One person's to blame. I don't think that's the case. I think the owners are clearly part of the blame. They're probably the biggest people you can blame it on. They haven't really invested in the squad well enough. I mean, the summer, you look at who we've signed. We just signed a bunch of youngsters. We signed Solanke, I guess, but the rest of the squad, there's not enough experience in there. We sold a lot of experience and didn't get anything back. So you can't just solely look at it on Ange Postecoglou point of view. I think part of it is down to his tactics and how he wants to play. I think that's the reason we conceded 6 yesterday. Obviously, part of it is due to the injuries. And yeah, I mean, I agree with your tweet. I actually do agree with it. I don't think, I partly agree with it. The problems do run deeper. 100% they run deeper. But you've also just got to look at Ange Postecoglou on his own and think, okay, this is the team you've got available to you. You've got to go into this game against Liverpool and just try and get what you can from it. We've conceded 6 goals. I don't think we were anywhere near getting anything from that game. And I'm not saying that if we were to defend, we would have got something from it, but I feel like it would have given us a better chance to get something from it.
Absolutely, 100%. I can totally see where you're coming from with that one. It's interesting. It's interesting to get fans' different perspectives. That's why I didn't think I didn't come out that game thinking, Ange. I was more thinking, we got what we expected. So that's why I was a little bit taken back.
Yeah, I think when I was watching the game, I was kind of just sitting there like, I understand that we weren't going to. I went into that game not thinking we were going to win. Obviously, Liverpool are on such a good run of form. They are just better than us right now. It's honest to say. And we're not in a good position with our squad, with the amount of fixtures they're having to play. You know, again, Adoggy's not even got an injury, but he's been sidelined for a couple of games because he's playing so much football. I mean, he started, I think, 95% of our games this season. I mean, no, that shouldn't be really any player starting that many games when you've got so many. You know, you've got Europa League, you've got Carabao Cup, which we've gone deep into now. You've got Premier League games, and we've got players that are having to play every single one. That's not down to Ange. That's down to the squad depth that we've got, the players that he trusts to play in his team. We haven't got enough of them. Obviously, we have had a lot of injuries, but I still don't think we have enough of them even when we're fully fit. So that's not down to Ange. But the thing that is down to him is the way that we set up. Again, obviously, I'll keep on going back to that third Liverpool goal, but I just think it's criminal the way that we gave them that goal. There's no managing of the game. You know, when you're in that game and you somehow it's 2-1. Somehow we've got it to 2-1. I mean, you were at the game, weren't you? You saw how poor we were for that first half. They absolutely dominated us. It was men versus boys in that first half. But somehow Maddison gets that goal and it's 2-1. And you're like, okay, we're not out of this game yet. And then we start.
It's so open. Why don't we just take 2-1 at half time? Yeah.
Exactly. Why don't you just for a minute stay, like, you see the game, we've got a couple minutes till half time and we can go into the break and everyone's like, okay, you know what, we're still in this game, we can change the second half, we can make it a different game. We're going into the game, we're going into the half with momentum. They're probably on the back burner going, how did we concede, what's going on? But instead we trigger this press, Spence goes bombing forward, leaving Salah, the best winger, on his own, and probably the best player in the league, on his own. And they goal to make it 3-1, and it completely just deflates everything. And it's like
Draxler not winning that header was
poor. He kind of, but it's just, again, we're leaving ourselves so exposed.
We shouldn't have to rely on a header, by the way,
no,
to whether we concede or not. But
exactly, we're leaving ourselves so exposed in a position that's already exposed anyway with all the injuries. We're leaving ourselves so exposed in that position. And you're just thinking, if we got to half time, that could have been a different game in a second half. I'm not saying it would have been, but it could have been. We still had the chance, but that goal goes in. And I think as soon as that goal went in, I think everyone was like, yeah, we're going to lose. And it's just, that's where I criticise Ange. It's not the attacking football, but it's where he doesn't manage the game at different points. And that's where I'm stuck with him.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to Forest before we end the show, because we play Forest away on Boxing Day. So the content continues from our point of view over the festive period, and so does the football for all the players and as far as Spurs are concerned. How are you feeling ahead of this game? And it's a big one, isn't it? You know, it's where we want to be. We need to catch Forest. They've done really well.
It is a big one. Good that we're going to have Benson called back. So we've got another kind of pair of fresh legs kind of getting back inside. Unfortunately, it's not really desperately the position we need it. But to be fair, Basuma's been quite inconsistent. So I think Benson Call will come in and play next to Saab, or maybe next to Basuma. We'll see. And it's a massive game, but Forest are in such a good run of form. I didn't expect them to beat Brentford. Brentford have been really impressive at home this season, and they seem to go away and get a solid result, 2-0. So, you know, we'll see how we're going to be. I guess you never really know, Tottenham. We could go there and get a great result. We could get absolutely battered. You honestly don't know. So it's just...
you don't know with us.
Yeah, I mean, it will be an entertaining game, though. I mean, Forest, again, Nuno's got them playing some great football. To be fair, Forest have invested a lot of money into their squad. They've got some great players, you know, Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Chris Wood's on fire. Yeah. Their defence is really solid. Milenkovic looks really good. Ola Aina's been a great free transfer for them. So Murillo's a solid player. I'm not sure about what injuries they've got, but I
don't think they've got many.
They're looking strong, aren't they, Forest? And as much as I think everyone's waiting for a bit of a downturn in form for them, I think when you look at their players, you can see, you can see their strengths. Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, is class. He's always been a player that I would love Spurs to look at. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough game. I think we've always had some entertaining games when we've gone there. I remember the Richarlison thing with flicking the ball up and Brennan Johnson pretty much going in for like a 2-foot on him before he obviously joined us. That was quite funny. But yeah, I mean,
that was a special moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think we all know that. Still, obviously struggling with injuries, and that's not going to change. Probably going to still have Archie Gray at the back with Dragoshin. Probably a doggy back, and then Porro.
I think he's done well, Archie Gray, 18 years old. I think he's so composed.
Yeah.
I think he's done better than Dragoshin. He's a natural centre back.
Yeah, I mean, he's been
an
fantastic.
18-year-old midfielder.
He has been fantastic, Archie Gray. I think when we were talking about, Kulusevski possibly being the captain of the future, which I do think for now, I think he probably is the next captain for Tottenham. I think Archie Gray could be the future captain for Tottenham.
Really good shout.
I think in years to come, obviously only 18, I think he'll be, if we can, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't want to keep him for his career if we can make him a one club kind of, well, not one club, but make him this be his club for the future.
Stay for a long,
he could be a perfect captain for us. He seems so composed at such a young age. I mean, even conceding 6 yesterday, he still, he was trying his hardest. He was playing some really good football with the ball of his feet, making some good challenges. Again, we put him in a position and left him on his own really, just to try and deal with it. Exactly the same that Romero or Van de Ven would, and he's really taking it in his stride. So I've been really impressed with him, but it's still. He shouldn't. This burden shouldn't fall onto him. Him having to play centre back, it just shows the lack of organisation from our board, the lack of recruitment from the director of football, from Johan Lang, and it's a shame that Archie Gray is having to be relied on this much. As much as I've been very impressed with him, this should not be falling onto an 18-year-old who hasn't, this is his first real taste of the Premier League, and he's just been forced to start at centre-back against Liverpool.
It's crazy, isn't it? What would your lineup be? You mentioned that Ben scored back and shed, didn't he, in his post-match little thing there that we listened to, post-match debrief, if you like. Their doggy should be available. So would there be any changes to your team? Like Johnson are quite, fresh, ready to go.
I think obviously Forster's going to have to stay in net. I do think we need another goalkeeper. As much as I have been impressed,
I'd go Brandon Austin. To be honest with you, when's he are they going to get his chance? That's the thing.
I think we do need a new goalkeeper. To be honest, I don't think Brandon Austin or Alfie Whiteman are ever going to be the guy, are they? But Fraser Forster will have to be in net for this game. Hopefully I've got a report coming out on the Spurs web about some of the transfers we were looking at, and the goalkeeper situation is an important one. I've looked at, I think, Lucas Chevalier from Lille. I think he'd be a great signing.
Okay, nice.
Or I think it was, I can't even say his name, Atabulu from Freiburg. He's a young German goalkeeper, probably looking forward to be the number one in Germany in the future. But yeah, there's a couple of different options there. But anyway, for now, we're not going to be in that position anyway. So Fraser Forster is going to have to start in net. I think it's going to be Udogie back in, playing left back. Be happy to see him there. Again, it's going to have to be Archie Gray and Dragoshin, unfortunately. And then I think to be honest, I'd be interested. I think it will be Porro, but Spencer's been impressing me. I wouldn't mind Porro maybe getting a rest and playing Spence on back where he should be playing, which is right back.
His old club, yeah.
And then maybe having Brennan Johnson on that right wing, and because they seem to have a really nice connection at Forest when they were in the Championship. They had a really nice connection along that right side with Brennan Johnson playing.
It's worth noting, the people we don't know, it is Johnson and Spencer's old club. So
exactly,
it might mean a lot to them.
And that they played together and they were used to playing on that wing together. And Jed Spence would always get forward.
They worked well together.
Exactly. So maybe that's something we could try if they wanted to get Johnson back in. I think in midfield, you're going to have Benson Core, probably Basuma. I think it's going to be, as much as I'm struggling with him at the moment. Just sometimes he looks like, United, he played really well. And Liverpool, he was shocking. It's like it's either an 8 out of 10.
Good against United. I think he's been better recently, but I know what you mean. He's hit and miss, isn't it?
Yeah,
you need
it's just
someone like that you need a DM to perform consistently in an system, and he just doesn't do that.
it's either an 8 out of 10 from him or it's a 2 out of 10 from him. And it's just, we need a bit more consistency, especially from a senior player. We need some more consistent performances. If he can give us a 6 or a 7 out of 10 every week, it's exactly what we need. But I think it'll be Bentancur and Basuma. Probably Maddison in behind them. But if you were to play Johnson, I think I'd have Kulusevski in the middle and then Maddison on the bench. And then obviously Son on the left and Solanke up front. I'm really hoping that Mikey Moore's back soon. I want to see him get some minutes because as much as I love Son, he's probably, one of my favourite players to ever play for Tottenham. He has looked very off it recently. I don't think he can play 2 games a week. I'd put Werner in there, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to Mikey Moore coming back with Werner a bit of pace against Aina. Yeah, I'd have anyone over Werner, to be honest. I'd send him back to Leipzig now.
A lot of people would.
But mate, it's a shame because what we're used to seeing from Son and what we used to always love from him is that one-on-one attacking his fullback and taking them on, and it just feels like
he's got the pace or the confidence.
No, he's lost it. I think he's obviously just getting on a bit, and Mikey Moore needs to be, in this second half of the season. I know it's obviously a big second half of the season, but he needs to be thrown into it now. I think this is his chance to make that position his. We've seen glimpses of him in that Europa League game, and we've seen where the quality he has. Maybe it's time just to throw him in there and let him take the opportunity and become Tottenham's new talisman on that left. But we'll see if that ends up coming.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you. Let's get the Forest, fan perspective now, the Forest point of view. I'm going to play the thoughts of Dan from Talk Forest TV. Talk Forest TV are like a YouTube channel. They have 3,000 subscribers. They built themselves a good platform, and also on X as well. They have over 6,500 followers. So really appreciate Dan, the guy behind it for Talk Forest TV, for doing this for me. Here's what he had to say.
Hey Spurs fans, it is Dan from Talk Forest TV. Hope you are doing fantastic well. I've been asked to give a short preview on Boxing Day game between Forest and Spurs. Personally going into it in positive mood. Obviously I know it'd be different for you guys after the Liverpool defeat. Obviously Forest getting that 2-0 win against Brentford, really positive defensive display, and 2 good goals, a proper away day performance. It's not like, I know it's hard for me to talk about Spurs, but especially how the result went against Liverpool, but it's one of them ones where I think you guys defensively, you just shown in terms of how bad you guys are with injuries and that. So what I think about Spurs and Ange, Ange, we all know he's a good manager. He's trying to prove himself in the Premier League now, especially after his success elsewhere. I think you guys do play some good football. Aside of that, I think you guys can show promises. Just the Haaland and that, which causes you guys a bit of a problem defensively, and especially with injuries. But I think if you guys stay with Ange, I think you guys will do well. And I know he's promised a trophy, and hopefully you guys will get under Ange. There will be a lot more pressure on the third year. Me personally, going into a game on Saturday, me personally, if I'm saying with my heart, I say 3-2 Forest. If I'm in my head, I think it might be a 2-2. So thank you for having me on, and goodbye.
There you go, Dan there. He's waiting for a bus, I think. So I do really appreciate him sending in. He spoke well, and talked about Spurs and talked about what we've been talking about, Joseph, and our problems with the high line with Ange and that, and also recognised with all the players we had out injured. So what did you make of what he had to say? And obviously we talked about Forest. They've been really impressive, haven't they, this season?
Yeah, they have been. I mean, he didn't actually mention Forest as much there. Really, he was more.
No, he didn't. No, he focused on us.
Spurs. But I think his score prediction is, maybe with his heart is more likely. I mean, to be fair, 2-2 possible. We know there's going to be goals, don't we, in that game? Forest have been surprisingly impressive. I think a lot of people going into the season, I think they had Nuno as probably their first sacking of the season. I think a lot of people thought Nuno was going to really struggle. But he's proven everyone wrong, isn't he? He's just, they're sitting in third or fourth right now. I mean, they're looking great at the moment. So it's going to be a really, really tough game, I think. It's one of those games that I think is actually going to be massive for Ange, to be honest. I think, we've seen this season, we've had some big games against some of the larger teams. We've struggled against some of the smaller teams. Well, now we've got a team that maybe wasn't expected to do too well, doing very well. How are you going to match up well against them? It's going to be a really interesting game. It's impossible to predict Tottenham. It's just impossible to know what they're going to do. So we can hope for the best, but no clue what to expect on Boxing Day.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, sorry, can I mute myself there? Don't know why it didn't work. Good old technical issues. It's for Christmas. No, I completely agree with you. You just don't know with Spurs. I think a lot of it is that. But have you noticed how teams that play once a week, how well they're doing? Like your Bournemouths, your Forests, I think are doing really well. And those teams that play twice a week struggling a little bit more. I think Forest, maybe they get European football and struggle a little bit. But where do you think they can hurt us potentially in this game? You talked about Hudson-Odoi, Langa. So they also give a lot of players a chance that their players, their kind of careers petering out, like Anderson with Newcastle, Chris Wood, Hudson-Odoi, Langa, which is obviously nice to see as well.
Oh, Elliot Anderson has been a revelation for them, I think. Again, I think when that signing went through, I don't think Newcastle really wanted to lose him, but it looks like they've got a real player on their hands. He looks, he's doing really well for Forest at the moment. I think where they're probably going to hurt us is down the wings. I think you'll see how far, if it's Porro, if it's Udogie, how far they're going to push up. Alanga and Hudson-Odoi have got so much pace, and that ball played over the top by Morgan Gibbs-White, by Elliot Anderson, and you're going to be able to put that ball into Chris Wood. I mean, he's going to dominate in the air. He's scoring goals for fun at the moment, isn't he, Chris Wood? So I think that's where they're going to that's what they're going to look to punish, and that's where they will punish us, down those wings. They can get the balls out wide, where Porro is pushing so far up. We saw it in that Chelsea game, didn't we? Where Porro was pushing so far up, and then you just had so much freedom. Against United more, really, actually, where Bruno Fernandes had so much freedom on that far side. So, I think down the wings where they've got that much pace, and then if they can drive in and get a shot off, or if they can get it into the middle to Chris Wood, that's where they're going to have success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris Wood took 3 shots in his last game against Brentford. He didn't score, but even though he had 3 shots, he looked really dangerous, and he could have scored 1 or 2 from them. So he doesn't need many chances, and he's just, that's what he's capable of. The same with the best strikers, Haaland, Salah. This couple of moments they take it to Haaland at the moment, or Man City not in form at all. What's your score prediction in this game? Oh, sorry, go on, Josie.
Yeah,
sorry,
he's having one of the best seasons of his career, isn't he? I mean, he's done it at Burnley, he's done it at Forest now, he did it at even at Newcastle for a little bit. He's been around. He's played for so many different teams. Was he at West Brom as well? Maybe he's played for so many different teams, and he's doing it at every other team. So, credit to him for the longevity of his career is very impressive. And Forest, a one you can't get in that side right now, and to be honest, they're not going to want any other striker. He's doing really well. And in terms of score prediction, I think. Again, I'm a very pessimistic Spurs fan, so for me to go into it going, we're going to win, it's just not like me. So, if I'm honest, I think with my head, I'm probably thinking maybe a 2 or 3-1 to Forest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I just think, again, with the injuries we've got, again, these players are just playing every single game. That we're not like he said in that post-match press conference, and we can't rotate, and it is completely screwing us, isn't it? So I think it's hard to say, because again, Forest look really good. That it's not just the fact that they're winning games comfortably, and they're playing well in each game. It's not, they're not getting away with it. They really are a great outfit right now. So if I'm going with my head, I think Forest are going to get the win. If I'm going with my heart, I think maybe Spurs can scrape it like a 3-2. But hopefully my heart's right.
Yeah, I've got a feeling we might lose, but I hate to predict us to lose. So I'm going to go with 1-1. I think it's been an interesting tactical battle. I think it'll be really interesting. I think it'll be all the battles will be really close, and I think it'll be a really even game. So I'm going 1-1. I think that wraps up nicely for this episode of the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast, the last one before Christmas. Thank you to all that listened. I wish you and your loved ones, I said at the start of the show, and I really do mean it, an excellent Christmas, and prosperous and happy and healthy 2025. Thank you all for your support this year with the channel and the podcast. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button if you haven't already, because it does help the channel and the podcast grow. If you're listening on audio, a lot of you do, so big up to you. I mean, the numbers are growing on that at the moment, so big up to all of you listening, whether it be on the way home from work, school, you name it, however you maybe listening or whatever time of the day, wherever, other countries, people listen in different countries as well. Big up to every single one of you. Do get in touch where you're listening from or watching from. It's really interesting. But if you're listening on audio podcast platform, do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. And check out our sponsors, Security VPN and Security VPN and the Kitman. Thank you for bearing with me as well, because I'm still on the road to recovery from illness, nearly getting there. Hopefully just about in time for Christmas. I want to thank my panel, Billie T, who left earlier, Justin, who left earlier, Liverpool fan Roopa, I thought was really level-headed and really balanced, and Joseph as well for joining us late. I gave you a last-minute shout, so thank you, Joseph, for coming on. Where can people find you across social media?
You can find me at Joseph THFC on Twitter. Thank you for having me, and I hope you have a good Christmas too.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you too. All the best. Thank you very much, guys. Keep the faith if you like. Have an excellent Christmas and a happy new year. Keep an eye as well with the content, because there is plenty of content coming out, match previews, special podcast show, Wolves preview. We're trying to do some stuff with Wolves fans and fan channels, etc. Before the game. So do keep your eyes peeled. No Premier League show, though, next week. It did, of course, fall on Christmas Day. But I do mean it. Have an excellent Christmas and a happy new year. Whenever, of course, this podcast may be getting to you. And a massive come on you Spurs. All the best.